This is introducing community building technology and then preparing for practice. You have your packet and then we'll be going through it, yeah? Points there, that's actually a timeline, my timeline. So in 1987, when I was 22, I opened my first business, which is Seaside Travelers Inn, which actually still exists today. When I opened it, it was, in quite a conventional model, I would say. I was the boss, I was the owner, my mom and dad were there, etc., etc. Very simple, small, very small. But although today it's grown and it's a bit bigger, but it's still the same model today. It's, basically run by a family, right? Very, very top down, although the people there have good jobs. They have worked there for the longest time. 1987 to now is how many years? 34? The next thing I did was in 1995, I set up my next company called Cynthia Ong Special Events. In a way, it's quite similar. I was the boss, I was the shareholder. It was quite a creative space because the work was creative, but I definitely called the shots. In between here, I did a bunch of things. Got married, got divorced, that kind of stuff. The other thing I helped founded, were any of you involved, was SWEPA, and the founding of SWEPA. Remember SWEPA? You guys remember SWEPA? I don't even remember my own timeline. 1997 was the first community building workshop in Taipei, where I witnessed community building technology for the first time. And I was mind blown that facilitators could, seems like, do magic. All I had ever experienced here was up till now, even SWEPA, although it's also run, you have a president, you have a committee, you have members, right? All those kinds of organizations. My organization, so it always has the usual kind of pyramid. And then I experienced a circle here. My first circle, I think it was like 34 people or something, 2 facilitators, and it was actually in Mandarin. And the facilitators were Americans. So they had to have translators for the facilitators, translators for the participants. It's fascinating, 3 whole days in a circle. And at first it was like, why is nobody leading here? Like, so no structure, just a circle and some guidelines. Drove me nuts, really, really nuts. But by the end of it, I thought, wow, this is mind-blowing. When you get to, a group above and beyond the sum of its parts. And in the community building language, they call it the group has achieved community. When you get to community, it's like the most amazing genius group you can ever find. And what it believes is there are guidelines, there are principles, there are ways to get there, to facilitate a group to get there. So that was 1997. What happened? Year 2000. So after this, I did a lot of training, various trainings on this model. And then I did a big training. It's called Community Facilitation Program in the US to do this model, basically. And that was also a very powerful moment for me, which led me to moving to the US in 2001 to facilitate using this model in prisons, in the criminal justice system in the US. So I went to prisons and juvenile halls, etc., with inmates every day. That's 2001. When I was in the US, there was a request, you're in the US, why don't you build partnerships for work and conservation in Sabah? That led to the founding of LEAP in 2005. After LEAP was founded, there's, as you know, there's LEAP Inc., LEAP Spiral, LEAP Conservancy, all the various LEAPs. There's BSBCC, Bora, all was founded in this time. And then Forever Sabah was, the seeds of Forever Sabah was 2011. So my evolution in terms of as a leader was this journey, managing in a very straightforward way, where I'm the boss, no questions, the buck stops with me, and then learning this, this is also the time I shifted from for-profit to non-profit. So the non-profit world started here. And then, Forever Sabah, et cetera, was the sort of hybridizing of the two. So I guess if you think about Carmela and Victor, they took a distinct journey, which was to become professional facilitators. I didn't take that path. My path was always, because I was entrepreneurial, I always wanted to set up something for some reason, whatever the reason was, but it was never to make money for me. So there was a lot of cause-related work, and building these things was just building the vessels for those causes. And then facilitation became more and more the kind of way, the modus operandi, if you like. Not necessarily, you can't be a professional facilitator and run an organization. You can't, because you have to have staff, you have to have, your finances, your admin, all these things. So it had to be a hybridized model. They, as you see, they're consultants, so they're paid for a job. They come in, they learn the context, they do a design, they use their process expertise, they deliver whatever, the strategic plan or project evaluation or something. You are all, in a way, you are content experts. You have content, whether it's CSPO or Ramsar or FPIC, all the socioeconomic education work PACOS is doing, that's all content. What you do in the art gallery, HEH, all this is content and developing content. So I think what I'm wanting to bring you guys into is this world of process expertise. You don't have to be a process expert, but you can develop your process expertise and skills. Okay, so this was the time I encountered this model. And although I've now done other things like open space technology, Theory U, I don't know what all the other things, some of what you've read, we've shared. I will always say this was my foundation. And I was a little bit of a purist for a while. But more and more, I hybridize everything I do. Like, just use whatever you need, whatever the situation calls for. And which is different from what people like Carmela and Victor would do. Because they don't, you guys, like you work in HEH, you work in Forever Sagama, whatever, you are in it. You don't fly in and fly out. You're in the issue. So there is a fundamental difference between that, like Neville pointed out. Where's Neville? And then deploying a facilitative model, but you're not a professional facilitator. You see what I mean? So there is a difference. And there are many schools of thought around, can you be neutral? Are you really, you can't be neutral. So you already know the issue. Everybody knows you're an advocate. Yeah, I mean, but more and more, as you're more and more skilled and more self-aware, it's relative. You know, we just all need to be facilitators, basically. So also, if I were to compare all the methodologies, this to me was the hardest one, because it's had no real structure other than the circle. It just believes in a group of all leaders. Everyone in the group is a leader. Everyone has a unique voice. Everyone has a right. And when you really can create that space, you get the most amazing group genius. That's been my experience. But it's not easy to come by. You have to commit to being together for long, like 4 days, sit in a circle, and really go through hard work. And you only have a few guidelines. These are the guidelines of community building technology. And it sounds like nothing, but it's really actually quite hard to stick to. So we will go through this in a minute.